The white hospital ship floated silently through space, its red cross glowing bright against the darkness. The UNHCR Mercy was the biggest hospital ship humans had ever built, stretching over a kilometer in length. Inside, its halls were clean and bright, filled with the soft beeping of medical machines and the quiet footsteps of its crew. Captain Bae Sun-ho stood at the main window of the bridge, watching the stars go by. His gray hair and kind face showed his 20 years of experience as a medical officer. But there was strength in his gentle hands, the same hands that had saved countless lives over the years. "Captain," called Florence, the ship's eye. Her voice was calm and clear, like an experienced nurse. "Head Nurse Du Young has started the emergency drills in Section 7. Bai nodded, smiling as he watched the medical teams on his screen moving quickly through their practice. Du Young was one of his best crew members. She had been with him for 5 years, and she knew how to keep the medical staff sharp and ready. "How many patients do we have today, Florence?" Bai asked, walking over to check the main medical displays. "We are carrying 2,473 patients, Captain. This includes 156 in critical care, 42 newborns in the nursery, and 89 waiting for major surgery." The numbers made Bai's heart heavy. Each one was someone who needed help, someone whose life depended on the Mercy reaching the frontier colonies in time. The ship carried enough medical supplies to help millions of people living on the outer worlds, places too far from Earth to get regular medical care. In the main medical bay, Du Young watched her teams practice handling emergency cases. She had set up fake patients, simple robots that could show different symptoms. The medical staff moved quickly but carefully, showing they knew exactly what to do. "Time," Du Young called out, her clipboard in hand. 4 minutes and 30 seconds to full emergency response, one of the young doctors answered, wiping his forehead. "Better than last week," Du Young said with a small smile. "But we can still do better." In space, every second counts. Above them, Florence watched through her sensors. The AI had been programmed with all of human medical knowledge, but she had learned something more from her crew. She had learned to care. She monitored every patient's heartbeat, every change in breathing, every sign that someone might need help. The Mercy continued its quiet journey through space. In the pediatric ward, children from 3 different planets played together, already feeling better after their treatments. In the research labs, doctors worked on new cures for spaceborne diseases. In the emergency rooms, medical teams saved lives every hour. Captain Ba finished his daily rounds, checking on each department. He stopped at the nursery last, as he always did. The sight of the newborn babies, some of them from species that had once been at war with humans, filled him with hope. This was why they were out here, not just to heal, but to show that humanity's greatest strength was its desire to help others. "Florence," he said quietly, "set course for the Newton colony. Standard speed." He looked at the star map, calculating the time. "We should arrive in 3 days." "Course set, Captain," Florence replied. "All systems normal. The Mercy is ready to continue her mission of healing." None of them knew that in just a few hours, this peaceful mission would turn into something very different. The Mercy was about to show the galaxy another side of humanity, one that those who threatened a hospital ship would never forget. Li Jinwu sat at his communication station, sipping his morning tea. The night shift had been quiet, just the usual chatter between colony stations and passing cargo ships. He liked the quiet. It meant everyone was safe. A red light started blinking on his console. "That's strange," he said, putting down his cup. The signal was weak, coming from somewhere ahead of the Mercy. It sounded like a distress call, but something about it didn't feel right. "Florence," Jinwu called to the ship's eye, "can you clean up this signal?" The static cleared a little, but the message remained unclear. Just fragments of words and odd breaks in transmission. Jinwu had worked in space communications for 12 years, and his gut told him something was wrong. He pressed the button to call the bridge. "Captain Ba, sir, you might want to see this." On the other side of the ship, Security Chief Kim Hae-Newell was already awake. The former military officer was doing her morning check of the ship's sensors when she noticed something odd. 3 ships were following the same course as the Mercy, but they were moving fast. Too fast for normal space traffic. "Florence, show me those ships again," Hae-Newell ordered, her eyes narrowing. The screen zoomed in, but the ships had no markings. No flags, no registration numbers. That was against every space law she knew. Captain Bai arrived on the bridge just as both reports came in. He looked at the data, his face growing serious. "How far are those ships from us?" 2 hours at their current speed, Captain, Florence answered. "They are not responding to identification requests." Bai turned to Hae-Newell. "Security Chief, what do you think?" Hae-Newell stood straight, her hands clasped behind her back. 3 unmarked ships, moving at combat speed, and a strange distress signal. She shook her head. "This is a trap, sir. Classic pirate tactic." The captain nodded slowly. He had hoped to never need the security protocols they had practiced. But now, begin quiet preparations. No alarms yet. We don't want to frighten the patients. Through the ship's corridors, security teams began to move. They looked like normal medical staff, but each one was highly trained. Hae-Newell had picked them herself. They carried hidden weapons designed to protect without causing damage to the ship's sensitive medical equipment. In the communications room, Jin Woo kept trying to contact the approaching ships. Each time, he got no answer. Or worse, he got back garbled messages that made less and less sense. "Florence," Ba called softly, "send a message to Earth Command. Mark it urgent." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Tell them the Mercy may need assistance." The AI's voice was calm, but there was a note of concern in it. "Message sent, Captain. But the nearest military ship is 3 days away." Ba looked at the screen showing the approaching vessels. They were closer now, their engines burning hot as they raced toward the hospital ship. In 2 hours, they would find out what these mystery ships wanted. "Security Chief," he said, "activate Protocol Guardian." Quietly. Hae-Newell nodded and began typing commands into her console. Throughout the massive hospital ship, hidden systems came to life. The Mercy was still a hospital ship, dedicated to saving lives. But if these pirates thought they had found an easy target, they were about to learn a very hard lesson. The 3 ships grew larger on the Mercy's screens. They were ugly vessels, covered in mismatched armor plates and weapon mounts. Red paint marked their sides in jagged stripes, the symbol of the Crimson Talon pirates. "They're hailing us," Lee Jinwoo said from his station. His hands were steady, but his voice shook slightly. Captain Ba straightened his white medical uniform. "Put them on screen." The main screen lit up with the face of the pirate leader. He had gray skin and sharp teeth, typical of the rock-dwelling species from the outer colonies. A long scar ran down one side of his face. "Hospital ship," the pirate growled. "This is Captain Kraz of the Crimson Talons. Your ship is now under our control." Bai kept his voice calm, like when he talked to scared patients. "This is Captain Bai of the UNHS Mercy. We are a medical vessel carrying 6 civilians, including children. Please reconsider your actions." The pirate laughed. It was not a nice sound. "That's exactly why we're here. Medical supplies are worth a lot of money. Plus, all that nice equipment." His sharp teeth showed in a cruel smile. "Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." In the security center, Kim Hae-Newell watched more pirate ships appear on the long-range scanners. 2 more vessels jumped in behind them, boxing the Mercy in. Her hands tightened into fists. These pirates had planned this well. "You don't want to do this," Ba said firmly. "Taking medical supplies will cost innocent lives." The pirate leader's face turned angry. "No more talk. Power down now, or we start shooting. Maybe we space a few patients to show we're serious." Throughout the ship, hidden cameras showed Hae-Newell's security teams getting into position. Medical staff quietly moved patients away from outer rooms. In the nursery, nurses pulled armored shutters closed over the windows. Florence's calm voice came over the ship's speakers. Warning, enemy weapons powering up. Impact in 30 seconds. The first shot from the pirates hit the Mercy's engines. The huge ship shuddered. In the pediatric ward, Dr. Yoon Hae-jin held a small child who had started crying, singing softly to calm him. Last chance, the pirate leader snarled. Surrender now. Captain Ba looked down at his hands. The same hands that had healed so many. Now they moved to a hidden panel on his command chair. No, he said quietly. I don't think we will. The pirates fired again. But this time, something was different. Their shots hit the Mercy's hull and disappeared. What? The pirate leader leaned forward. What trick is this? Ba's voice was still calm, but now there was steel in it. You should have checked why they call us the Mercy. His fingers pressed the hidden panel. It's because we believe everyone deserves a chance to survive, even pirates. Alarms began to sound on the pirate ships. Their weapons stopped working. Their engines started to fail. The pirates' screens filled with warning lights. What? What are you doing? Captain Kraz's face showed fear for the first time. Ba stood up straight. Behind him, his bridge crew began their work with grim faces. We're helping you survive what happens next, because unlike you, we remember our oaths. He nodded to Security Chief Haenul. Show them why you never attack a hospital ship. The Mercy's white hull began to change. Panels slid aside, revealing things that no ordinary hospital ship should have. The pirates were about to learn that healing wasn't humanity's only skill. Security Officer Park Min-ji stood at her station, her fingers flying over the controls. Around her, the Mercy's hidden systems came to life. The ship's white walls split open, revealing rows of medical drones. But these drones weren't normal hospital helpers anymore. Protocol Guardian active, Florence announced. The AI's voice now had a harder edge. All defensive systems online. In the engineering room, Song Ta-won grabbed his tools. The young engineer had spent months preparing for this day, even though he had hoped it would never come. He reached under his workbench and pulled out a sealed box marked emergency only. Florence, start the conversion sequence, Ta-won ordered. Above him, the massive medical scanners that usually looked for diseases began to turn and shift. Their powerful scanning beams, which could see inside a human body, now pointed at the pirate ships. The pirate leader's face appeared on the screen again. What kind of hospital ship is this? His voice shook with anger and fear. The kind that's tired of pirates attacking medical vessels, Captain Bai answered. He watched as Min-ji activated the first wave of drones. They flew out from the Mercy's sides, their usual medical tools now glowing with strange energy. The drones surrounded the first pirate ship. Where they usually gave medicine, they now fired small beams that cut through the pirates' engines. The pirates tried to shoot back, but their weapons couldn't lock onto the small, fast-moving drones. Hull breach on enemy ship 1, Florence reported. Their life support is failing. She paused. But their crew should survive for approximately 6 hours. In the medical bay, head nurse Du Young opened a locked cabinet. Inside were special suits for the medical staff. They looked like normal protection gear, but they were stronger than steel. Everyone suit up, she ordered. Remember your training. The pirates launched fighters from their ships. Small, fast vessels that usually scared their targets. But Min-ji just smiled. She pressed a button, and the Mercy's scanning beams locked onto each fighter. Target medical data collected, Florence announced. Each pilot's vital signs are now being monitored. Tai-won's voice came over the radio. Scanners ready, Captain. We can see everything inside their ships now. Every weakness, every system. The pirate fighters fired their first shots, but the Mercy's hull just absorbed the hits, the special metal, designed to protect patients from space radiation, worked just as well against weapons. Their pilots are getting nervous, Florence reported. heart rates increasing, stress levels high. Captain Ba pressed a button on his chair. His voice carried to all the pirate ships. Attention Crimson Talon forces. You have one chance to surrender. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. He paused. By our medical teams. The pirates responded with more shots. But now, the Mercy's drones moved in closer. They released clouds of tiny robots, the same ones usually used to fight diseases inside the human body. The nanites swarmed over the pirate ships' hulls, finding every crack and weakness. Sir, Minji called out, all enemy ships are targeted, waiting for your order. Ba looked at the screen showing the pirate leader's angry face. You wanted to see our medical equipment. He nodded to Minji. Show them what human healing technology can really do. The Mercy's systems hummed with power. Around the ship, every medical device and scanner turned to face the pirates. It was time to give them a very different kind of examination. Dr. Kang Jihu pulled on his combat medical suit and checked his team. They had trained for this, but today would be the first real test. His medical squad stood ready, their white armor marked with red crosses that glowed in the dim light. Remember, Jihu said to his team, we're still doctors. We just have different patients today. The first pirate ship was already crippled, its engines dead in space. The medical drones had cut through its weapons like a surgeon's laser through tissue. Now it was time for the next phase. Boarding team ready, Jihu reported to the bridge. Starting Operation House Call. Head nurse Do Young's voice came over the radio. All patients are secure in the protected wards. Medical teams, you are clear to engage. The medical staff moved with the same careful speed they used in emergency surgeries. Their suits, designed to protect against diseases, worked perfectly in space. They crossed between ships using the same steady hands that usually held scalpels. Inside the pirate ship, the raiders waited with their weapons ready. But they weren't ready for what happened next. Release the anesthetic gas, Jihu ordered. The medical team's tools hissed, filling the pirate ship's corridors with sleep-inducing mist. On their displays, they watched the pirates' vital signs drop as they fell unconscious. Florence's voice guided them through the enemy ship. Warning: 3 pirates in the next room have makeshift gas masks. Jihu smiled behind his helmet. Switch to Plan B. He pulled out what looked like a medical scanner, but when he pressed the trigger, it fired a pulse that knocked out electrical systems. The pirates' masks, which needed power to work, died instantly. In another part of the ship, Dr. Yoon Haijin led her pediatric team. They moved differently, trained to handle the most difficult cases. When they found pirates trying to hide in storage rooms, they used their knowledge of pressure points and nerve clusters. Target subdued, Haijin reported, checking the fallen pirate's pulse. Minimal damage, just like in the training. Back on the Mercy, Security Chief He Newell watched the screens with pride. The medical teams moved with perfect precision. They weren't just disabling the pirates. They were doing it without causing serious harm. First ship secured, Jihu reported. 96 pirates captured. No serious injuries. He paused. Though some of them will wake up with headaches. The second pirate ship tried to run. But the Mercy's converted scanning beams locked onto their engines. The beams that usually look for tumors now found and disabled every critical system. Their weapons are hot, Florence warned. They're about to fire. But Du Young was faster. Her team had reached the ship's power core. Using their medical tools in ways the pirates never expected, they shut down the whole system. Second ship is dead in space, Du Young reported calmly, as if she was just giving a normal patient update. Captain Ba watched from the bridge as his medical staff, the people he had chosen for their healing skills, took apart the pirate fleet piece by piece. They worked with the same care they used in the operating room, the same precision they used to save lives. Sir, Florence said, the last pirate ship is turning toward the pediatric ward. They're powering up all weapons. Ba's face hardened. These pirates had just made their final mistake. All medical teams, he ordered, prepare for emergency response. They want to threaten our children. He looked at the tactical display. Show them why that's a fatal error. Captain Ba watched the last pirate ship turn towards the pediatric ward. In 20 years as a medical officer, he had never lost a patient to violence. He wasn't going to start now. Florence, he ordered, activate all remaining defensive systems. Authorization. Hippocrates Protocol. The AI's voice became stronger. Hippocrates Protocol activated. All medical nanites responding. Engineer Song Ta-Won's voice came over the radio. Captain, the nanites are ready. They're programmed to target their weapons and engines only. The tiny robots, usually used for healing inside the human body, poured out of the Mercy in a silver cloud. They looked like a beautiful fog in space, but when they reached the pirate ship, they began to eat through its metal skin. Their weapons are failing, Security Chief Haynul reported. The nanites are dissolving their gun barrels. On the main screen, the pirate leader's face appeared again. He looked scared now. What are you doing to my ship? Treating it for a serious infection, Bai answered calmly. You. The pirates tried to fire their engines to escape, but the nanites had already gotten inside their engine rooms. The massive engines coughed and died. In the medical bay, head nurse Du Young prepared more teams for boarding. Remember, she told them, we're here to capture, not kill. Use your skills to disable, not destroy. The medical teams moved out again. This time, they used their knowledge in new ways. They knew exactly where to hit to knock someone out. They understood which nerves could paralyze without causing permanent damage. Sir, Florence reported, the pirates are trying to activate their self-destruct system. Bai nodded to Security Officer Park Minji. Show them what our scanning technology can really do. Minji's fingers flew over her controls. The Mercy's powerful scanners, which could find a single cancer cell in a human body, reached deep into the pirate ship. They found every wire, every circuit of the self-destruct system. Targeted electromagnetic pulse ready, Minji said. Firing now. The pulse was precise, like a surgeon's cut. It killed the self-destruct system, but left life support running. The pirates were trapped on their own ship. Enemy ship is completely disabled, Haynul reported. Their weapons are gone. Their engines are dead. They can't even open their own doors. Ba stood up from his command chair. Open a channel to all pirate ships. When the channel was open, he spoke clearly and firmly. This is Captain Bai of the UNHS Mercy. Your ships are now under our control. Your weapons are destroyed. Your engines are dead. But your life support systems are working, because that's what we do. We keep people alive. He paused, looking at the scared faces on the screen. You threatened our patients. You tried to steal medicines meant for sick children. You thought we would be an easy target because we're healers. His voice became harder. That was your mistake. The pirate leader tried to speak, but Ba cut him off. No more threats. No more demands. You are now our patients, and we will treat you. But first, you need to be reminded of something very important. The Mercy's hull gleamed white in the starlight, its red cross glowing bright. But now it didn't look peaceful anymore. It looked powerful. Never threaten a hospital ship, Ba said quietly, because we know exactly how the human body works and how to make it stop working. Dr. Yoon Haijin was checking on her young patients when the alarm sounded. 5 pirates had somehow escaped capture and were heading toward the pediatric ward. Her hands tightened on her medical scanner as she looked at the sleeping children. Not in my ward, she whispered. Not today. Florence's voice came through quietly. Dr. Yoon, 5 armed pirates are approaching from the east corridor. Security teams are 3 minutes away. Haijin looked at her nurses. They nodded, understanding without words. They had drilled for this many times. The pediatric team wasn't just trained to heal children. They were trained to protect them. Seal the inner doors, Haijin ordered. Activate the child protection protocols. The ward's lights dimmed. Special shields dropped over the children's beds, protecting them from anything that might happen. The air system switched to independent mode, keeping the children safe from any gas or smoke. In the corridor, the pirates ran toward what they thought was an easy target. They didn't know that the pediatric ward had more security features than any other part of the ship. They didn't know that its staff were the best trained. They're 30 seconds from the outer doors, Florence reported. Hai-Jin pressed a button on her medical tablet. The floor in front of the ward's entrance became slick with disinfectant gel. The first 2 pirates fell hard, their weapons sliding away. "What's happening?" one pirate shouted. But the corridor's lights were changing, flashing in a pattern that Hai-Jin's team knew well. The strobing lights, designed to check children's eye responses, now confused and disoriented the pirates. The remaining 3 pirates tried to push forward, but now the corridor's temperature dropped rapidly. The cold, usually used to preserve medicines, made their fingers too stiff to pull triggers. "Security teams are still 2 minutes out," Florence updated. "We don't need them," Hai-Jin said calmly. She nodded to her nurses. "Show them why you never threaten children in our care." The pediatric team moved with perfect coordination. They used their knowledge of pressure points, learned from years of giving shots to struggling children. They knew exactly where to press to cause sleep, not pain. One nurse used a throat spray meant for checking infections. In the pirates' faces, it made them cough and stumble. Another used a medical scanner's electromagnetic pulse, usually meant for deep tissue scans, to shock the pirates' muscles. Hai-Jin herself moved like water between the pirates. Her hands, which could calm the most frightened child, now found nerve clusters with surgical precision. One by one, the pirates fell. "Final target approaching," Florence warned. The last pirate, bigger than the others, charged at Hai-Jin with a knife. She stepped aside calmly, the way she did with running toddlers. Her hand touched his neck, finding the exact spot she used to check for swollen glands. The pirate's eyes rolled back, and he collapsed. "Pediatric ward secured," Hai-Jin reported, checking each pirate's pulse. 5 hostiles subdued. No serious injuries. She paused. "Though they'll have some interesting bruises to study in medical textbooks." The security team arrived to find all 5 pirates unconscious and neatly arranged. The pediatric team was already back to their normal duties, checking on their young patients as if nothing had happened. Captain Baz's voice came over the speaker. "Dr. Yoon, is everyone safe?" Hai-Jin looked around her ward. The children were still sleeping peacefully, protected by their shields. Her team was calmly going about their work. Even the pirates were breathing steadily, ready to become lessons in her next emergency response class. "Everyone's fine, Captain," she answered with a small smile. Just another day in pediatrics. The medical bay was full, not with the usual patients, but with pirates. They lay on beds, each one carefully treated for their injuries. Captain Ba walked between the rows, checking their charts. "How are our new patients?" he asked head nurse Du Young. She looked at her tablet. "Most are just sleeping off the effects of our defensive measures. A few needed treatment for minor injuries." She paused. "The pirate leader is awake. He keeps asking to speak with you." They nodded and walked to the secure section. The pirate captain lay on a bed, his hands secured with soft medical restraints. His sharp teeth were no longer showing in a cruel smile. Now he just looked tired and confused. "Why?" the pirate asked as Bai approached. "Why treat us after what we did?" "Because that's what we do," Bai answered simply. "We're healers first, even for those who try to harm us." In another part of the ship, Engineer Song Taiwan was helping his teams collect the medical nanites. The tiny robots returned to their storage containers, their job done. The pirate ships floated nearby, their weapons turned to dust, but their crews alive. "Florence," Taiwan called, "how many nanites did we lose?" "Only 12%, the AI answered. Much better than our simulations predicted. Security Chief Hay Newell sat at her station, writing her report for Earth Command. Her screen showed the final numbers: 3 pirate ships disabled, 2 support ships captured, over 300 pirates taken into custody. And not a single death. Most efficient defensive operation I've ever seen, she muttered as she typed. In the communications room, Li Jinwu was sending messages to nearby systems. The news spread quickly. The Crimson Talons, one of the most feared pirate groups in the sector, had been defeated. Not by a military ship, but by a hospital vessel. Getting lots of responses, Jinwu reported to the bridge. Other pirate groups are suddenly changing their travel routes. They're staying far away from all hospital ships now. Dr. Yoon Haijin was back in the pediatric ward, telling stories to the children. Some of the older ones had heard the commotion and were curious. "Were you scared of the bad people?" a small girl asked. Haijin smiled gently. "No, little one, because we knew how to protect you, just like we know how to make you feel better when you're sick." Captain Ba finished his rounds and returned to the bridge. His white uniform was still clean and pressed, as if nothing unusual had happened. But his crew could see the pride in his eyes as he looked at them. "Message from Earth Command," Florence announced. "They want a full report on our defensive capabilities. Several other hospital ships are requesting our protocols." Bass sat in his command chair, thinking about the changes this day would bring. Other medical ships would now be equipped with similar defenses. Pirates would think twice before attacking vessels with red crosses. "Captain," Du Yum called from medical, "the supply transfer to Newton Colony is ready to resume. All our original patients are stable." "Very good," Bai replied. "Prepare for departure." The Mercy's engines hummed to life. Around her, the captured pirate ships were being secured by newly arrived military vessels. Their crews would face justice, but they would also receive proper medical care. "Set course for Newton Colony," Bai ordered. "Standard speed." The huge hospital ship turned gracefully away from the disabled pirate fleet. Her white hull gleamed in the starlight, her red cross glowing as bright and proud as ever. She had shown the galaxy a new side of human medical care, one that could heal or harm with equal skill. But now it was time to return to their real mission. There were patients waiting, colonies needing supplies and lives to save. That was what they did best. That was who they really were. 3 months after the pirate attack, the UNHS Mercy docked at Earth's main medical station. The huge ship looked different now. Her hull still gleamed white, but new symbols had been added beside her red cross, a small silver shield, marking her as a defender of medical vessels. Captain Ba stood in the station's main hall, his dress uniform decorated with a new medal, the Star of Medical Service. His crew filled the rows of seats before him, each wearing similar medals. But more importantly, each still wore their medical uniforms with pride. "The events of that day changed everything," Ba said to the gathered crowd. "Not because we fought, but because we showed the galaxy that healing and protecting are 2 sides of the same coin." In the audience, Dr. Yoon Haijin sat with her pediatric team. Her young patients had made her a card, drawn with crayon, showing her as a superhero in a doctor's coat. She smiled at the memory of their happy faces when she told them they were always safe in her care. Security Chief Hay Newell watched from her position near the door. Her teams were still alert, still watching, but now they wore their security roles openly. No one questioned why a hospital ship needed guards anymore. The Crimson Talons had taught that lesson for them. "Today, we introduced new standards for all hospital ships," the Earth Command Admiral announced. "The Mercy protocols will ensure that no medical vessel ever becomes an easy target again." Engineer Song Ta-won grinned as he looked at the technical drawings on his tablet. His medical nanites have been improved. Now every hospital ship would carry them, programmed to protect as well as heal. His design had started a whole new field of medical defense technology. Head nurse Du Young sat with her medical staff, remembering the days after the attack. They had treated the captured pirates with the same care as any other patient. Many of those pirates had later asked to learn about medicine, wanting to help others instead of harm them. But our greatest victory, Ba continued, wasn't in the weapons we didn't use or the lives we didn't take. It was in showing that humanity's greatest strength isn't our ability to fight. It's our commitment to heal. Florence's voice came through the station speakers, as clear and calm as ever. But now there was a note of pride in it. Incoming transmission from the Newton colony, Captain. Their new medical center is ready. They're requesting the mercy for the opening ceremony. In the far corner of the hall, Li Jinwu smiled as he monitored the communications. The channels that once carried pirate threats now carried requests for medical aid. Ships that once fled from hospital vessels now approached them for help, knowing they would find both healing and protection. The galaxy has learned 3 important lessons, Ba said, looking at his crew. First, that those who heal can also defend. Second, that mercy doesn't mean weakness. He paused, his eyes bright. And third, that you should never, ever attack a hospital ship. The crowd stood and applauded. But the Mercy's crew was already preparing to leave. There were more colonies to visit, more patients to help, more lives to save. They had become legends, the medical ship that defeated pirates. But that wasn't why they served. They served to heal. They served to help. And if anyone threatened that mission again, they would remember what happened to the Crimson Talons, the pirates who learned too late that Mercy was just a name. The UNHS Mercy undocked smoothly, her engines glowing softly. As she turned toward her next mission, her red cross and silver shield caught the starlight. She carried medicines and supplies, scanners, and surgical tools. But most importantly, she carried a message. Those who dedicate their lives to saving others will always have the strength to defend that noble cause.